The audience inside the Kelly Clarkson Show studio buzzed with excitement. People leaned forward in their seats, chatting loudly over the upbeat music that pulsed through the speakers. The crew hurried across the set, adjusting lights, setting props, whispering into earpieces. The energy was bright, almost festive, exactly the kind of atmosphere Kelly loved to walk into. Today's episode was meant to be fun, chaotic, and delicious. Guy Fieri, Flavortown's undisputed mayor, was the guest everyone had been waiting for. His spiky blonde hair, fiery shirts, and oversized personality always electrified whatever stage he stepped onto. Backstage, crew members took selfies as he passed, laughing nervously as he pumped his fist and shouted, "We're gonna take this place to Flavortown, baby." But underneath the big smile he flashed everyone, Guy was exhausted. He'd landed in LA only a few hours earlier after a storm grounded his flight overnight. He hadn't slept, he hadn't eaten. Worst of all, when he arrived at the studio, he learned half of the ingredients he'd requested for his segment, ingredients he needed, hadn't shown up. A producer tried to reassure him, saying they had substitutes. Guy nearly choked. "You can't substitute full-fat cheese with, whatever that low-fat mystery is." He'd barked, "And plant-based bacon, come on." The producer apologized, but the damage was done. Guy simmered like a pot left unattended. He tried to shake it off as he took his place at the edge of the set, waiting for his cue. But every few minutes, another small irritation poked at him, his mic crackling, his pan not heating properly, someone dropping a spatula. So when the announcer finally shouted, "Ladies and gentlemen, Kelly Clarkson," and the audience erupted, Guy plastered on his trademark smile, one that barely clung to his face. Kelly bounded onto the stage full of sunshine, waving at everyone before spotting Guy and wrapping him in a hug. "Ladies and gentlemen, Guy Fieri's in the house," she shouted. The audience cheered wildly. Guy lifted his arms, playing along. "We're talkin', y'all to Flavortown," he hollered. The crowd roared again. Kelly beamed. She genuinely liked Guy. He was loud, hilarious, unpredictable in the best way. She'd been looking forward to the segment all week. But she didn't know his morning had been a disaster. They settled into their spots behind the cooking counter. Guy picked up a knife and twirled it theatrically, earning applause. Kelly laughed. "Oh my gosh, don't show off, you're gonna scare my producers," she joked. Guy chuckled, some of his tension melting. "Kelly, if they're scared of a knife, they shouldn't have let me in here." The audience roared with approval. For a moment, things felt normal. Then Kelly, in her playful, teasing manner, dropped the comment that flipped the entire mood of the room. "So Guy," she said, grinning, "my team tells me you demanded like 8 bottles of hot sauce backstage. Is that true, or were you having a diva moment?" The crowd laughed. Kelly laughed. But Guy froze. His smile faltered. His eyebrows twitched, as if he wasn't sure if he'd heard her right. "A diva moment," he repeated, slowly. Kelly's eyes widened slightly. She sensed tension rising. "Guy, I'm totally kidding," she said quickly. "You know He cut in sharply. "No, seriously, why would you say that?" The room tightened instantly. You could practically hear the air being sucked out of it. Kelly blinked. "It was a joke. I always tease about that stuff." "Well, it didn't feel like a joke," Guy fired back, his voice louder than the mic needed. "I ask for hot sauce because it's part of what I do. That's not a diva move, that's being prepared." The audience shifted uncomfortably. Some whispered. A few laughed, nervously, unsure whether they were supposed to. Kelly raised her hands gently. Okay, I didn't mean anything by it." But Guy wasn't letting it go. "Kelly, imagine someone saying you're being a diva because you asked for your microphone to work." He pointed to the counter. "This is my equipment. This is my job." Kelly's smile faded. Her good-natured humor shrank under the sharpness of his tone. She tried again to steer the energy back into safe waters. "Guy, we're on live TV," she said softly. "Let's just keep it fun." But Guy shook his head. "You invited me on here to do what I do, cook real food. And then you make me look like some guy throwing tantrums because I need hot sauce." Kelly exhaled slowly. "Guy, nobody's making you look bad." "Oh really?" he said, taking a step back. "Then why didn't anyone fix the ingredients? Why is this pan cold? Why am I cooking in a kitchen setup that looks like a toy?" He slapped the stovetop lightly. "This isn't even hot yet. Are we cooking or doing arts and crafts?" Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Kelly's voice lost its playful edge. "Guy, hey, I love you, but please don't yell at my team." Guy's eyes flashed. I'm not yelling, I'm just telling the truth. The tension in the studio clung to the air so thickly that even the audience, normally buzzing with excitement, sat still as statues. Everyone could sense they were about to witness something unusual, something raw. Kelly Clarkson stood behind her counter, one hand resting defensively on the edge, the other gripping a spatula she clearly didn't know what to do with anymore. Her eyes flicked to the crew behind the cameras, silently begging someone to help her reel the moment back under control. But there was no saving it. Guy Fieri's chest rose and fell with fast, tight breaths. His earlier irritation had blown past the point of recovery. He wasn't just annoyed, he felt blindsided, disrespected, pushed into a corner where he couldn't shrug it off with a joke or a loud laugh. He felt mocked in front of millions who would eventually watch this segment. And when he felt like that, Flavortown's mayor turned into a full-on wildfire. Kelly tried one last time to smooth the edges. Guy, she began gently, we can fix whatever's wrong. Really, we can start over. No, Guy snapped, running his hand through his spiky hair. No starting over. This isn't just a little mistake. The audience murmured, the whispers like tiny sparks. Kelly forced a nervous laugh, trying to lighten the mood. Come on, Guy, really, it's not that deep. Guy turned sharply toward her. Kelly, it is that deep when I come here to do my job and everything is set up to make me look ridiculous. Kelly's eyes widened. The audience gasped in unison. What had started as a humorous segment had turned into a standoff, live and very real. Guy pointed at the cutting board, where the ingredients sat waiting for him to cook. I asked for full-fat cheese. I got rubber. He picked up the packet and slapped it back down. I asked for bacon, not, whatever this is. He held up a strip of plant-based bacon, letting it dangle. This looks like someone cut a yoga mat into pieces. Even some of the audience members couldn't help laughing at the comparison, but it only made things feel more chaotic. Kelly, cheeks flushed, stepped closer. Guy, seriously, my team works really hard. You can't insult them on air. You just can't. I'm not insulting them, Guy said, louder, I'm pointing out that someone screwed up. Kelly raised her hand in warning. Enough. I'm putting my foot down. You're not gonna bully my staff. Guy shook his head with a short, angry laugh. Bullying, really? I'm the one being treated like a clown. Kelly flinched, not physically, but emotionally, the kind of sting that settled deep. She stared at him for a moment, and unspoken, why are you doing this? In her eyes, but Guy didn't see it through the storm. He turned toward the cameras, voice booming. Folks, what you're seeing here isn't Flavortown, it's Flavor Letdown. The studio erupted in awkward laughter, half from shock, half from uncertainty. No one knew whose side they were supposed to be on. Kelly's heart pounded. She wasn't combative by nature. She wasn't dramatic, and she certainly didn't want any kind of scandal. But she also wasn't going to let someone hijack her stage, disrespect her people, and walk all over her reputation. She straightened her posture, swallowed hard, then spoke firmly, using a tone rarely heard on her show. Guy, if you don't want to cook, then don't cook, she said quietly. But don't embarrass everyone who works here. Guy stared at her. For a split second, the fire in his eyes dimmed, because he could see, finally, that she wasn't just irritated. She was hurt, but the realization hit too late to fix anything. The adrenaline was already in motion. No, he said, pointing toward the counter again. I'm not doing this segment like this. And honestly, I shouldn't have to. Kelly folded her arms. Then what do you want to do? Guy didn't hesitate. Leave. The audience gasped, loudly this time. Kelly blinked rapidly, trying to maintain composure. You're leaving, she echoed. Guy ripped off the apron he'd been wearing, the strings snapping. He tossed the apron onto the counter where it slid into the low-fat cheese. I'm not gonna stand here and pretend everything's okay. Not when you're calling me a diva and your team is setting me up with ingredients I didn't ask for. Kelly shook her head. That's not what happened. It's exactly what happened. Guy's voice boomed. You brought me on here for entertainment, not for cooking. And that's fine, but don't lie to me about it. Kelly stepped back, stunned into silence. Guy moved around the counter, his footsteps hitting the floor with heavy, determined thuds. The audience followed him with their eyes, phones quietly lifting as people began recording despite strict studio rules. Security and crew glanced at one another, unsure whether to intervene or let the spectacle play out.